All right, so today we're going to break down a short but wow, incredibly powerful piece of online commentary. It's just 5 sentences long, but believe me, it lays out this really stark warning and a huge call to action for Kenya. So let's just dive right in and see how the author builds this whole argument, sentence by sentence.
So right off the bat, you can feel the urgency. And look, they're not beating around the bush here. This is a direct shout out to some of the most visible and influential people in Kenya. The message is pretty simple, pretty clear. Hey, you need to be paying very close attention to what's happening just next door.
And this is the crucial part of the setup. The author is immediately drawing a direct line between the two countries. They're basically using what's going on in Tanzania as a kind of cautionary tale, almost like a roadmap of what could potentially happen in Kenya. You know, it's that classic move. Look over there so you understand what might be coming for us.
Okay, now this is where the whole thing shifts from just a general, hey, pay attention, to something way more direct. The author isn't just suggesting people watch and learn. Nope, they start outlining some very specific and pretty severe consequences for a group they call regime sympathizers.
Wow, this is, without a doubt, the rawest, most intense part of the whole text. The author's predicting that when public anger finally boils over, the first targets aren't going to be the person at the very, very top, but the people who are seen as propping up the system. It's a really chilling and incredibly specific prediction.
Okay, so that naturally leads to the big question, right? Who exactly are we talking about here? Who falls into this category of sympathizers? We got a little glimpse in that first sentence, but the author's full list, it's way more extensive than you might think.
And just look at this list, it really shows you the incredible scope of this warning. It's not just politicians. It's almost everyone with a platform or some kind of power. We're talking cultural icons on TikTok, sports heroes, CEOs, media figures. The argument underneath it all seems to be that when things get serious, any kind of influence is a political choice. There's no escaping it.
So after laying out this really intense warning, the author kind of shifts gears and gets into the why behind it all. This isn't just about predicting chaos, it's about building a moral case for why, in their view, that kind of public anger might actually be justified.
And this right here, this is the moral heart of the entire message. The author is basically drawing a line in the sand. It's a passionate plea against being complicit. They're framing the issue not as taking a political side, but as defending fundamental democratic values. The point is, if you condone these actions, you're essentially part of them.
So you get the picture, right? The author's making it crystal clear. In this kind of situation, there is no neutral ground. You can't just sit on the fence. In this climate, silence or inaction is basically seen as an endorsement. You either stand up against what you see as undemocratic, or by default, you become one of those sympathizers.
So what happens to this regime in the end? Well, the author pulls out this really powerful and famous historical metaphor to suggest that the end isn't just possible, it's completely inevitable.
And that line, man, it is so potent because it's both mysterious and absolutely certain at the same time. It suggests that some final decisive moment is just over the horizon, but nobody knows when. It creates this real sense of impending doom. So what exactly is a Waterloo? Using the word Waterloo is a huge deal. The historical weight of that reference is just immense. By bringing it up, the author isn't just predicting a loss. They're predicting a total, final, history-defining defeat, one that you just don't recover from. It signifies the absolute end of an era.
But you know what's interesting? It doesn't just end there with all that doom and gloom. The very last sentence pivots away from predicting a downfall and instead proposes a brand new beginning. It's a really dramatic tonal shift from a dark warning to a glimmer of hope.
And there it is, the final, powerful declaration. After all the threats, all the warnings, all the moral arguments, the ultimate point, the big takeaway, is a call for a national rebirth. But what does that word, Renaissance, really even mean here?
And you really got to understand what Renaissance means in this context. The author isn't just calling for a new government or a different policy. They're calling for something much deeper, a fundamental reawakening of the country's entire culture, its intellect, its spirit. A total renewal from the ground up.
So when you just step back for a second and lay it all out, you can see the incredible journey this author takes us on in just 5 sentences. It starts with a stark warning,
moves to a threat of consequences, then draws a moral line in the sand, predicts an inevitable end, and then finally lands on this powerful call for a national rebirth. It's an amazingly efficient and powerful piece of writing.
And that kind of leaves us with this final, massive question. The source text puts this huge idea out there, but it's really up to all of us to interpret it. I mean, in the 21st century, what does a national renaissance actually look like? What does it take to get there? And that's the thought I really want to leave you with.